I started a whole new stream that will explain why this review for this 2024 pack US MRE Menu 2 is broken. I will make the appropriate corrections in the title at the close of this portion of it. I'm going to wait for everybody to come back in. Hopefully they'll find it. Now that's good. I don't know what happened to that other one. I got an email and a text yesterday from my cable internet provider saying that they're going to be doing system maintenance, but that's not scheduled to start until tomorrow. Yeah, we're not having any bad weather here in Des Moines. Looks partly cloudy outside, what I can see through the leaves of the birch and the sycamore trees that are in front of my building. Oh. Yeah, but I'm sure that they have a reason for that. Is I have watched a number of their videos. But life seems to have a way of interfering with people's fun. And there are some other ration reviewers who have had to stop making videos for one reason or another. Michael Green across the pond, he has stopped putting out reviews. In fact, I think all content. I haven't seen anything from him for months, so I don't know if he's even able to do any videos on anything. He has had some health issues. So their other ration reviewers have just dropped off. I wish they could still put out some stuff. But we got new people getting into it, and I'm happy to support them. And I hastily restarted the stream after I killed the last one that got froze up, but this is a 2024 pack US MRE Menu 2 chicken stir fry. It is a new menu, and how I know it's a 2024 pack is the date code is 4 digits on a US ration. The first digit represents the year of packing, and then the last 3 represent the day in the year. 302nd day of 2024 was when all of the items were picked off the line and put into this bag, and then this bag was sealed. Now, Canadian rations, they use a 5-digit code. And the 4-digit code on the US MREs and other rations can be confusing if you're not sure of the packaging style for that particular year. But because packaging styles have changed over time, you can kind of get an idea. Plus, if you look at the menu item, the menu lineups for certain years, they have changed. Like this chicken stir fry is a new one. Zero key. That is what these are all about, to provide energy. The macronutrients for the soldier in the field, or who is involved in a training exercise where they have to take rations with them. This is what they call recovery trail mix. It's got little pretzel sticks, cashews, peanuts, and almonds. No real flavoring added, but it's still a good mix. This is a cinnamon bun. And that's what it looks like on the inside. This menu did not come with coffee, so I added one for my kitchen. I have G7 brand instant 3-in-1 coffee. This is a chocolate hazelnut protein drink. They do not mix very well. In fact, I'm scraping the side of my drinking jar to get some of it that stuck to the side. I'm giving it a stir. The protein drink was added because there's not a whole lot of chicken in this. You get some protein from the nuts, so they added the protein drink. You don't get any other drink option in this particular menu. There's Mother Earth Garden Club in the house. Thanks for dropping in. 2024 pack US MRE menu 2. Then this stream is broken in half because my first one got all froze up. I have no idea why, so I just killed it and started a fresh one hastily. I will add a title, and if I can add a thumbnail afterwards, I'll do that. But if I cannot, I'll just put an explanation in the description box as to why it got broken up. This applesauce has strawberry and carrot added, and the carrot flavor is very prominent in this. So that is why you have that odd color, because of the strawberry and the carrot. And all those who just now come in, who found the stream, thanks for dropping in. This is a 2024 packed United States MRE meal ready to eat. Menu 2, chicken stir fry. This is a new menu. I had seen others unbox it when they've opened up what is referred to as Case A. Standard US MREs have a lineup of 24 menus. You get 12 per case. The first 12, 1 through 12, are in Case A. And then 13 through 24 are in Case B. I got a Case B sent to me by another ration lover. His name is Waffles. He just sent it to me. It was a surprise. The only way I knew about it was I got the UPS notification to go down to the new Oriental Food Store, which is a UPS access point where I have all UPS packages directed to. And that's how I know that I got this Case B. And I have taken 3 of the menus out and traded them with another ration lover on Facebook. And I got the precursor to the MCW, or Meal Cold Weather, which is the US version of an Arctic ration, cold weather ration with freeze-dried entrees and more calories added. The one that I got was called the Ration Cold Weather. It was a 24-hour ration that came in 2 bags. So I had always wanted to get my paws on one of those. So this guy in one of the ration groups on Facebook was wanting to know if I would be willing to trade. And I said, I got 3 Case B MREs that contain pork. I will not eat them. So if you'll accept those as trade. I sent him a picture of the 3. It is the pepperoni pizza MRE, the one with the Italian sausage, that's a pork sausage, and the maple flavor pork patty. I sent him those in trade for the Ration Cold Weather. So I am looking forward to digging into that. And he said that the 2 sausage ones are his favorite. I don't know how he feels about the pizza one, but he was happy to get it. Welcome to my Indian guest. I'm not sure if that is Hindi. It could be Hindi, it could be Sanskrit. I don't know. I'm not familiar with those languages. I do apologize. I cannot read them. Spanish is my second language. I know a tiny bit of German. I know a tiny bit of Polish. I know a little bit of Russian. I messed with a little German and a tiny bit of Swahili years ago. And because I know Spanish, I could pick up on some Portuguese and some Italian. And I know a little French. Now this is a plastic tray. I got it on eBay several years ago. When I first got into ration reviewing, I was using a Tupperware lunch tray that I got way back in 1983. And I used that last week when I opened up a 1995 experimental long-range patrol ration, which also featured a freeze-dried entree. that teriyaki rice with beef, I just couldn't get enough of that. That thing was really, really good. The other items in that one, not so much. The coffee had gone to crap. The 2 bars had gone to crap. I got 2 instant iced tea mixes. They were clumpy, but I was able to mix up one. I have the other one. I might bring that one back out one day and do it as a hot tea and see how that works. But I like the flavor of that tea. Yeah, because that coffee had gone to crap, I got one of my G7s, which is a Vietnamese instant coffee. I got introduced to that several years ago, and that is my go-to camp coffee. In fact, later I will probably put a few of those packets in my brew bag that always lives in my camping food bag for anytime I camp with friends. When I go with my family, we stay in cabins because we have 2 people who need power for medical devices. So we go for the cabins. But that doesn't stop us from going to the lake to get in a little fishing. Yeah. Old Smoky uses one of those metal military trays, and it has a year stamped into the metal of the tray. Steve 1989 also has those trays, but he may use a military mess kit, a U.S. mess kit. I do not have either one of those, but there's another ration reviewer who used to use a tray like this, and I liked it, so I wanted a dark tray, something that I can switch out between, you know, between it and my 1983 Tupperware tray. So green is my favorite color, so I had to get it. Now, speaking of sign language, I have a Spanish sign language book in my eBay watch list. When I was in high school, our library had one. I mean, this is way back in the 80s. So I was looking through it. I never did see if the college library that I went to in the 80s after high school had one. But I have 2 medical Spanish books, and so I did use those when I did a clinical for advanced nurse aid to try to get a job in a hospital, which I never did get. But they had a Spanish speaking client on the section of the floor that we were assigned to. So I was assigned that client, so I spent most of, like, like it'd be 2 days it'd be 2 full shifts basically with that particular patient interpreting for the staff and the family. And I thought because I did that, I would have a higher chance of getting hired. But nope. I turned in my application. Nothing. Yeah, Coleman's and other sites do sell them. But eventually I might get one. But I don't know. I guess I'm just more partial to this green one and my Tupperware tray. I do have a round metal tray that one of the Canadian reviewers likes to use. In fact, I've got 2 of them, but I gave one of them to a friend here in Iowa when we were camping on his family's property. Someone had given him some MREs, and so I knew about that ahead of time, so I packed a tray. Thought you might like using this to put your MRE food on when you go to eat it, but I had never seen him put up a video on YouTube about eating any of the MREs that were given to him. But I found both of those trays in a thrift store, so I bought them both. Now, from what I understand of prison trays, they are a heavily insulated design that are designed to be, they're constructed so that they are stackable. You put the food on the tray, on the first tray, you put it down on the dolly, then you put the next tray on with food, and you keep stacking that until you get enough trays that you need for that particular round. And they would either put an empty tray on top, or they have a cover, and then they would take that stack of trays to the housing unit or pod or whatever the jail or prison design is like, to give to the prisoners. You know, so basically when they're stacked like that, the tray above serves as a lid for the one below. And like when you go to a hospital, the carts for the meals have separate shelves that you put the trays on, and the plates and bowls, and maybe even some of the cups, depending on what it is, will have their own lids, as opposed to something that covers the entire tray. But that is just my understanding of how those jail and prison trays are designed to, the function that they're designed to do. Again, this is applesauce with strawberry and carrot, and the carrot flavor dominates over the strawberry and the apple flavor. I have never been inside of a prison. I'm going based on what I have heard from other people, and going based on what our county jail has for their trays. The descriptions that I've seen of that, I'm assuming that's how they are designed in all of those places. But again, this tray I found on eBay. The other tray that I used was a Tupperware tray that I got back in 1983. My high school class was having a series of fundraisers in order to raise money to cover the cost of our senior trip, which we took in the spring of 1984. And so one of the fundraisers that we did was a Tupperware party. And so our Tupperware consultant brought in some of these trays. They're a little bit wider than this, a little bit longer. They have a narrow strip for utensils here, but only 3 sections for the food. This whole area here would be one large section, and then the other 2 would be of equal size. So I tend to use that tray when I have a freeze-dried entree that will yield a huge amount of food and maybe not many sides. Or I might have one that actually has 2 entrees, like some Chinese rations may have 2 hot entrees, like the one that I saw Nathan's MRE. He reviewed a 2023 Chinese winter ration that had 2 rice entrees. So I would have put both of them in that one section on that tray if I had that same ration. But I do bring that tray out once in a while. I used it last week when I did a 1995 experimental long-range patrol ration that was in a brown bag. This is called a recovery trail mix. And I think I ate all the cashews out of it. There were not very many cashews, unfortunately. It's my favorite nut. But there were cashews in here. Nope, there's the cashew half. There we go. So peanuts, a few cashews, almonds, and little tiny pretzel sticks. They call that recovery trail mix. Hi, Lashy Debbie, welcome. Thanks for dropping in. This is 2024 pack US MRE menu 2. I don't have a thumbnail on this one because the first portion of this stream got all froze up. And I had to kill it and restart another one, and I hastily did it instead of taking time to put in the title and add the thumbnail plus any other settings. But I will fix all that later after I close this out. The protein, there was chicken in the chicken stir fry. I ate that. This is a chocolate hazelnut protein drink, so there's protein in here. These things are very hard to mix up. And you have the protein in the nuts in this trail mix. This is a cinnamon bun. I've eaten part of it already. The rice has some protein in it. It's not a complete protein like you would get in the meat, but when you combine rice with beans or legumes, lentils, like pintos, fava, chickpeas, you know, yellow split peas, green split peas, lentils, any bean like that, you combine those with rice and you get a complete protein just like you would from the meat. Yeah, I do these from my living room in my apartment. I do not use this bag called the Flameless Ration Heater. I saved them. But if I were to take this MRE, put it in a bag, and take it somewhere where I would be attending an event, but I would need to supply my own food, then I would use that Flameless Ration Heater bag to heat up the entree. And I have done that before. When I first started volunteering to do the kids crafts for the White Eagle Multicultural Powwow back in I think 2017, I did not know about volunteers getting free food, so or what the food would be available. So I had an entree from a halal certified US MRE. I had one of these Flameless Ration Heaters. So I used that to heat up that entree, and I think I had a couple other things to go along with that for my lunch that day. And that's what I did. Again, I apologize to the Korean viewer. I cannot read Korean. I do have a Korean freeze-dried entree that I will be bringing out later this year. I will do a series of what I call ration mashups, where I take elements of different rations and put them together to make a meal. I've done that a few years ago, and because I have a bunch of loose components from different rations, I'm going to do a few of those. And sometimes people, when you're in the military or you are a disaster survivor and your only source of food is a ration, you need those calories. You will eat it in order to function. These are purely functional. Yeah, they do have preservatives, which is a bummer. Rations in some countries don't have a lot of the preservatives. They have a more homemade taste. French rations are my favorite. I have enjoyed a few of them. In fact, I have an entree from a French ration. I have had some good Russian rations. I've had some good Spanish rations. I've had some good Chinese rations. I've had some good Lithuanian, Polish rations. I have a Latvian ration. And I have enjoyed several Canadian rations, and I have 3 more of those that I will get into later on this year. I have a British ration that is a vegetarian ration. There are vegetarian menus in the US MRE lineup. So if a soldier in the field is vegetarian, or it contains an entree that they cannot eat for whatever reason, but no other options are available, they can choose a vegetarian. So those options are available. There are also kosher certified rations, and I have had some made by a company called La Brioute. The first 2 of those that I got were vegetarian, and they're pretty good. I enjoyed those. The third one of those that I got had a chicken gumbo. But there are vegetarian options. And some may even be marked vegan. I don't know what is out there in other countries as far as the vegetarian ones. Although I did have a Russian 24-hour ration that was all vegetarian. And that one was quite good. One of the items was mislabeled, though. I thought that was kind of funny. But my favorite lunch spot has several vegetable entrees available and a couple of versions of dishes made from lentils. And there are customers who will go in there and get two of those. They will not get any of the meat entrees, but that's what they want. And so the cook puts those on their plate or in their carry out. In fact, I did that one day. I got two vegetarian items just for a change of pace. But I like my meat. Yeah, one of my friends who retired from the Iowa legislature last year he is a vegetarian, but he will eat eggs and he eats fish. So when he comes to the mosque, he will take the salad, he will take whatever vegetable, or if we have lentils or chickpeas, he'll take the rice, and he just leaves off the meat. And that is his choice to live like that, but he gets his protein from fish and eggs. He might eat cheese as well. Oh, super, there's one slight problem. I'm in Iowa. He's in D.C. And he's got too much to do to think about coming here to Des Moines to try to nip some of my dinner. Yep, that is true that there are people who have very limited or no access to meat. In fact, for a while I was feeding homeless people with a local group that used to be known as Food Not Bombs, but that group fizzled, so the others stopped doing it, and because I ride buses, I don't drive. There was no way I could keep that going by myself. So they always served vegetarian and vegan food, so I would contribute some of that. Plus, I used to put together hygiene kits that I would hand out. And when that group fizzled, I had all these hygiene supplies, so if, instead of getting rid of them, I just held on to them. And that was kind of my segue into prepping. So I have a long-term food storage. I got different rices, I got different beans, I got pastas, I got oats, I got other grains like quinoa, I got some wheat berries, the whole grain wheat, I got barley, and I have dehydrated and freeze-dried food, plus canned food. And I do have a variety of spices so that when I have to rely on my long-term food storage, I can add different spices, different condiments that change the flavor to avoid what's known as food fatigue. So it wouldn't taste like I'm eating the same exact thing every day. Pumpkin is doing very well. She's sitting off to the side. She's grooming herself. She has been watching me. Sometimes she sleeps when I'm doing these reviews. That little short I put up yesterday, that shows you how she messes with the water in her water bowl. She dips her paw in it and then licks that. And sometimes she insists on drinking from a running faucet, so I will let her do that once in a while, as long as I'm there watching her. Hello, Victoria. I don't know what reload is. I do apologize. I'm limited on my languages. But thank you for dropping in. You're looking at a 2024 pack U.S. MRE military. It's a ration, meal ready to eat. This is menu 2, chicken stir fry. I had to break this stream up because the first portion that actually has a thumbnail showing this part of the bag, that got all messed up and it just froze up. So I killed it and hastily started a fresh one. I did not take the time to re-upload the thumbnail or put a title on it. I will do that after I close this out. And I will put a comment in the description saying why it got broken up. And I'll put that on the first one too. Assalamu alaikum, Muhammad. There was a chicken stir fry. It had rice with pieces of chicken. There was bamboo shoots. I did not find any water chestnuts, unfortunately. It had some carrots. It had red bell pepper, a couple of flakes of green bell pepper, and some seasoning, but all of those are very, very soft. Then this is called Recovery Trail Mix. Very few cashews in, unfortunately. Cashews are my favorite nut. But there's peanuts, almonds, and these little pretzel sticks in here. This is a cinnamon bun. This is a chocolate hazelnut protein drink in my old drinking jar. This menu did not come with coffee, so I have a G7 brand instant 3-in-1 coffee in my mug here that I got from a Polish YouTuber called Delicious. He had sent me a couple of different packages from Poland. I happen to be Polish. Then this is apple sauce with strawberry and carrot in it. The carrot dominates over the apple and strawberry flavors. Now the thing that is supposedly prompts diarrhea would be the gum, but because I don't chew the gum, I save it. I used to be a gum chewer when I was younger, but I just stopped doing it. This one did include picante seasoning, something I would not expect to see with an Asian style entree. I have an MRE, the entree is called chicken burrito bowl. I would put this on that. I will save this for that one. But the non-food items that you usually get in these, there's a packet of salt, a moist towelette, wet wipe. Sometimes you get a book of matches, sometimes not. You get these little rear rolls, toilet paper, or if they use it for a napkin or whatever. And then you get this plastic spoon. I use my titanium spork for these reviews, but I save all these other items. I put them in bags. So the plastic utensils I save for when there are times where I may not be able to just go to my sink and wash something like this or my tray, then I go to my disposable tableware. I have not had to face that yet here, but I prepare for that. Way back in 1993, we had what was then called the 500-year flood that literally flooded the Des Moines waterworks. It flooded the generators that would feed power to the pumps. But because those got flooded along with the pumps, with how high the water got that year, and it took a long time for it to recede. It was over the downtown river bridges. I blew out of the apartment that I was living in at the time. I rode with one of my sisters. She needed someone to babysit her son while she went to her workplace, not to do her job, but to help clean up because it got flooded. So I stayed with her for 2 weeks. And an hour after we crossed the river, those bridges went under. The water had overtaken those bridges that go across the Des Moines River in the middle of the city, in the area that we call the East Village. So even after that, I went back to my apartment. I still could not drink the water. I would go to an area that the National Guard had one of their water trucks, and I could fill up a couple of gallon jugs every few days. Plus, Anheuser-Busch were running water only in their canning lines instead of canning beer. They were canning water and sending it up here to Iowa that year. So I had that water to drink plus the bottled water and the water in the jugs that I got to fill from the National Guard's water truck. You know, I drank sodas as well, but, you know, I had to throw out all the food that was in my fridge and freezer because of the power loss. I wish I would have known about prepping back then. I would have probably started doing it sooner than I did, but I'm glad I got into it, and I am much better prepared than I was not prepared at all back in '93. I knew nothing about it. But of course, the city and the state have had improvements and upgrades since then to prevent anything like that from happening again. We have a flood wall and a closable gate that surround the waterworks, the water treatment plant. And there are floodgates that can be closed in other areas to prevent flood water from penetrating certain areas. This is a cinnamon bun. And when these are warmed up, these are very good. Yeah, sometimes you get these cinnamon buns that don't have a whole lot of filling, but this one, it did a lot better with it. This is applesauce with strawberry and carrot, but the carrot dominates over the other two flavors, but it's still good. The chicken stir fry, I finished that long time ago. There are no more cashews left in this recovery trail mix. This is a chocolate hazelnut protein drink. Still foamy on the top. These are very difficult to mix up. And the hazelnut flavor is pretty strong in it. Yep, United States military food. This is packed last year, 302nd day of 2024. This is a new menu in the MRE lineup. So as soon as I heard about this menu, I really wanted to get my paws on it. So when I ordered this plus three others, it was a random pick from a site called MRE Mountain, and they had a sale on these groups of 4 random picks, and this one happened to be in it. So I got excited about it. Yeah, it would have been nice if the rice and the veggies in here were not so soft, but considering they put this in a shelf-stable pouch, that they expect to be at their top quality for 5 years when stored in appropriate conditions. But I have eaten rations that were much older and were very good. Some not so much. But I don't store a whole lot of rations for emergency food. I don't have the space to do that. My apartment is very small. I don't have a pantry per se. My apartment is my pantry. I have pots on my deck. In fact, I have 29 containers of assorted sizes. I planted seeds in every one of them. And I have some sprouts coming up. I got video of that. I planted some that I had not planted before. I'm curious to see how they will do. My deck faces north, so I don't get direct sun. A tiny bit in the morning, but it's filtered through a tree. That is in front of a house next to the east end of my apartment building. I got trees in front, plus the deck or balcony has a split down the middle. I have one half of it. There's a partition that divides my half from the neighbor's half. So when those trees are fully leafed out, they block sun. Plus there is another building to the west that blocks some of the sun, so I don't get a whole lot. So I go for shade tolerant plants. I have herbs. I got some assorted greens like kale, spinach, arugula. I planted endive, which I'd never planted before. A few others like that. I found a neat radish called watermelon radish. It's opposite of the common radishes that we know. This watermelon radish is white on the outside, red on the inside. And I found a pink dandelion seed, so I planted a few of those. I planted some nasturtiums. I couldn't get marigolds to pop up, so I'm trying nasturtiums. I'm experimenting. The most recent Spanish ration that I had was a halal certified lunch B2. It had meatballs with peas, and it had sardines in a tomato sauce. In fact, I had 2 of those, so I traded one of those plus a couple items for another ration that I got from another ration reviewer. So he had not tried that one yet. So I said, I got 2 of these. I don't need 2. So I sent that plus a couple other things, and then he sent a whole box load of stuff. Like 3 times what I sent him. Oh, this is a chocolate hazelnut protein drink, and the hazelnut flavor is very prominent. These are very difficult to mix up and keep mixed up. This is a cinnamon bun. Applesauce with strawberry and carrot, but the carrot flavor dominates. The chicken stir fry, which was here, I polished that off some time ago. The coffee did not come in the ration. This is the accessory pack, which I did not open. No coffee, no creamer, no sugar. So I got a G7 3-in-1 instant coffee for my kitchen. This is recovery trail mix, but I ate the few cashews that were in here already. So pretzels, peanuts, and almonds, plus a few cashews were in there. Of course, a cinnamon bun. Now, some other ration reviewers have tried making the chocolate protein drinks into a hot drink by putting in the coffee packet and then putting boiling water in it and making it like what some call an army mocha. So if I get another one of these, even if it's the exact same flavor, the chocolate hazelnut, I may try that. Even if I have to get another one of my instant coffees to put in there, I'll make it a hot drink and see how that works. See if it mixes up any easier. Good morning to you, Aggregati. I'm assuming that you're on the other side of the planet, or at least on the other side of the Atlantic, or the Pacific, depending on which way you want to orient yourself. I'm in the U.S. state of Iowa, sitting in my living room in my small apartment. I was actually born in Omaha, Nebraska. But when I was a kid, I flip-flopped between Nebraska and Iowa. And then after high school, I went down to Arkansas. About a month and a half before I graduated from high school, my parents got work down in Arkansas at a Girl Scout camp. But I chose to stay up here in Iowa to finish high school instead of go down there and run the risk of my credits not matching up, and then I would have to be held back one semester or a whole year just to meet that different state's requirements if they're different from Iowa. So I did not want to run that risk of having the credits not match up. So I just stayed here to finish high school. And then on the day of my graduation, my parents came up from Arkansas along with my brother, who is 4 years younger than me. They attended my graduation. We went out for lunch at a local truck stop that we used to enjoy going to. And then got my stuff packed up from where I was living at the time. And then just hauled tail down to Arkansas. And then in the fall, I registered at University of Central Arkansas. That's where I majored in Spanish. And while I was attending University of Central Arkansas at the same time Scottie Pippen was, before he went to play professional for the Chicago Bulls, I got to spend a month in the Mexican city of Guadalajara, and I earned 6 credits for that. That was an awesome immersion experience. We got to do most of the things that were on our list, but some things we could not do for various reasons. And because we were down there in 1986, we got to see some of the earthquake damage in Mexico City from the quakes that happened in September of 1985. And one weekend of that month in Guadalajara, we took and we spent a weekend in Mexico City. We got to go to the pyramids. I climbed all the way to the top of the Pirámide del Sol, the Pyramid of the Sun, which is the bigger of the two. I had to stop 4 times, but I made it up to the top of that thing. But after I finished college in Arkansas, I missed Iowa. I thought there would be more for me up here, so I came back. And I have been here in Des Moines ever since. Des Moines is the capital of Iowa. I do not drive. I rely on public transportation and occasionally other drivers to get around. I take buses to go see my doctor, to go get my prescriptions filled, to go to the mosque, do my shopping. And sometimes other activities. If it's near a bus stop and I got the time and a little money to spare, yeah, I'll do that. I never heard of Ocatlan. I did visit Teotihuacan and Tlaquepaque and Tequila. There's a town in Mexico not all that far from Guadalajara called Tequila. And yes, they do have a tequila distillery. They harvest the local maguey, which kind of looks like a pineapple on steroids with the leaves of an agave. And that's what this particular distiller uses to make their tequila. Now we went to another town called Tonalá. And all of these are around Guadalajara. But Ocatlan is one I am not familiar with. Yeah, that's probably a different direction than the other places that we went to. Of course, Guadalajara is a huge city. At the time that I was down there were already like between 4 and 5 million people. Extensive bus and trolley system. I have no idea what the population is now. I haven't looked it up. And Mexico City had a population of around 18 million in 1986. arroz con pollo. I just said rice with chicken. En estilo asiano, in the Asian style. Chinese to be specific. But I enjoyed the time that I was down there. Would I go back to Mexico now? Oh, heck no. Too much crime. I would not risk it even if I had 10 armed guards surrounding me all the time. I'll go to Arkansas, but unfortunately, I would not go back to Mexico. I would go to other countries if I had the means to. I would love to go to Poland, the land of my ancestors. I would like to see the place where the original Yezhinkas came from, who came here in 1849. I'm a direct descendant of the Yezhinka family group that came here that year. We have the documentation to prove it. Back in 1983, we had a Yezhinka family reunion. And prior to that, for about a year and a half, several people, including my mom, was asked to help put together and organize family documents. We were using snail mail because that's the only way we could do it at the time. You'd go to places where we could make copies and then send the originals back to their owners. And then once we got all that done, then all those were sent to the main organizers of the reunion, who then self-published the Yezhinka family history. So that dates back from the generation before those who came here in 1849 up through 1983. So we have immigration documents, we have marriage certificates, birth certificates, death certificates. Anyone who was Catholic and entered a religious order or became a priest, we had those. We had pictures. Yeah, and plus any other family records that their owners chose to contribute. Random guy, welcome, thanks for dropping in. Unfortunately, for those who came in late, this is the second half of the stream where I opened up this 2024 pack US MRE Menu 2 the first part of the stream, it just completely got locked up. So I had to kill it and start a fresh one. I hastily did it without taking time to add the thumbnail, put the title, or turn the monetization on. I will fix all that after. So for those that miss me opening up this bag, you can go back and look at the first half that has the title and the thumbnail featuring this part here with the name of the menu. So you can look at that at your leisure to see what everything was in the bag. I still have the unopened accessory pack, which included no coffee. So I got a G7 brand 3-in-1 instant coffee for my kitchen. I have the spoon and picante seasoning, which I do not consider appropriate for an Asian style dish, so I will save that, and that will come out to play another day. This is a chocolate hazelnut protein drink, the only drink option included in this menu. They seem to be doing that with these newer MREs. The hazelnut dominates. This is what's left of my cinnamon bun. When you warm these up, these are really, really good. Assalamu alaikum with us here. Thanks for dropping in. Empathic veteran, welcome to you also. And there have been some MRE menus that were absolute messes. I have tried a few of those. The older MREs from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Some of those held up, some not so much. Last week I opened up an experimental long-range patrol, which had a freeze-dried entree and teriyaki rice with beef. That was the best thing out of that ration. The instant tea was a bit chunky, but it mixed up well. It's still very good. They put 2 of those in that bag, so I may try mixing the other one up as a hot tea. The 2 bars that were included, the chocolate covered cookie bar, that had gone to crap. The chocolate protein bar, that had gone to crap. The coffee was no good, so I substituted one of my G7s. But the entree in that one, I just couldn't get enough of that. I wish Mountain House would bring that particular flavor back in the standard retail packaging so anyone can go to a store or get in an online store and buy it, because I thought it was really good. I have not had the 4 Fingers of Death either version. One, there are 2 different recipes that they used for the Frankfurters, aka hot dogs. The first version apparently was the texture closer to that of a Vienna sausage, and the later version was closer to the texture and the taste of the hot dogs that we know today. I have not had either of those. And the omelet, I will not eat that one because it has ham in it, and because I'm a Muslim, I do not eat anything pig. Just like Jews don't eat anything pig. So I will not even bother messing with that one. But my favorite of the old brown bag MREs, if I can get a good one that was stored very well, kept in good condition, is the corned beef hash. I've had that one 3 times, 3 different years. One of them was not stored very well. Something had been compromised, so I could not eat that one. But the other 2 were absolutely perfect. Even the red packet Taster's Choice coffee in one of those was perfect. It had not got that dry mold look. Yeah, the brown packet Taster's Choice was also known to do that, but not as near as often as the red. But I could not drink that coffee last week because it had already gone bad. Actually, there was an egg loaf, I think, in an MCI in the can. That might be what that person was referring to. I could be wrong. I have only had 2 MCI cans, just single cans. I had the Crackers and Cocoa B2 unit. And at that time, there were cans of bread, but they would have been issued separate to the soldier. I got a hold of one of those. The Crackers and the Cocoa Mix in that B2 can were perfect. The bread, not so much. It had stuck to the inside of the can. It had already gone bad. I cut it open so that the viewers could see what it looked like inside. It looked rather orange. Not what I have expected a bread to look like, but it was still interesting to see what that looked like. But I have never gotten a hold of a complete MCI, or Meal Combat Individual. Some are also known as C rations or C rats. I hope to get a hold of one of those. I would love a 1966 MCI. It just happens to be the year I was born. But one of these days I hope to get a hold of an MCI. But for now, newer rations will be landing on this tray that I got off of eBay. That reviewer who kind of inspired me to get this tray, his channel used to be called Apple Stump Bushcraft Stuff and Things. He hasn't put out any content for a long time, but I think he shortened the name of his channel. But he used to use a tray exactly like this. And because green is my favorite color, I decided that I wanted a green tray. Plus, this one has more compartments than the 1983 buttercream colored Tupperware tray that I have. I got into it because I was watching a channel called Sticky Fingers, Fingaz 79. He had a giveaway on his channel. He was giving away a US MRE, and I won it. And I decided that I was going to go ahead and open it up on camera. And I put the food on my Tupperware tray. So that is all I used until I got this one. Occasionally I will bring back the Tupperware tray, like I did last week, because the entree in that 1995 experimental long-range patrol ration, that freeze-dried block, yielded a huge mound of food once it reconstituted. And that one had fewer additional food items than MREs like this do. So when I get a ration like that, then I'll bring that one out. Yeah, there are some cafeteria trays that may look similar. I have been looking at some on eBay. I also have a round metal tray that looks like one that Smitty has used. Or one of the other Canadians. I found two of those actually in a local thrift store, so I bought them. I gave one of them to a friend here in Des Moines. Someone had given him some MREs, and I gave him that tray thinking it, he might enjoy using that tray whenever he wanted to eat any of those MREs. I don't know if he ever did. But I have not used the other metal tray because I may include it in my next giveaway. I'll just have to find a shipping box that I can put it in. I'll have to go to a post office and see if they have one of those flat rate boxes that are wide. They're long and wide, but only about maybe that, about like that when you go to put stuff in. You can't put tall items in unless you put it on its side or something like that. That would be the large flat rate box. There's an express box that is a similar size and shape. But I would have to get something like that if I were to include that tray in the price package. Yeah, the reason why you cannot see me is because my phone is in a mount that has it positioned directly above my tray. In fact, I will take it down. So this is the phone mount. So you see it clips to my desk here next to my little wood TV tray. So I'll go ahead and put this back in here. So right now that is the way I do it. I do not have a setup where I could position my phone so I could show the tray and at the same time flip to the front camera to show my face, unlike old Smokey. He has a totally different setup than I do. But in my unboxing videos, I usually use my front facing camera, then I can lean in and you see my face that way. But this is a setup that works for me. I have the stream up on my tablet, and that is what allows me to look at the chat. And if I need to type into the chat, I use that instead of trying to do it on my phone, because I don't want to have to take it down off the mount, try to do that. It's just easier for me if I bring the stream up on my tablet, and I just turn the tablet sound down so that I'm not getting any feedback or extra noise. So I hope that helps with the explanation of why I do it the way I do. I focus on the ration, and that's my other reason for doing it this way. You know, the viewers come to see the food and the drinks. That's why I do it the way I do it. I used to be able to do horizontal streaming, but for some reason, it's not allowing me to do that anymore. Even if I select horizontal orientation, I go live, and it tells me that it will not show my feed unless I position it so it's doing the vertical stream, the vertical orientation. So I have complained about that. Other reviewers have complained about that. I do it from my phone, which is a T-Mobile branded Revel REVVL 5G. I do not have a dedicated camera for doing this. So this is what I go with. And it so far seems to work for me. I am finishing off this food. Now this tray came from eBay. This is a titanium spork. I call this a drinking jar because it looks like a mason jar or a canning jar with a handle. Unfortunately, these are not heat tolerant. Only cold drinks will go in this. I think it's just a fun thing to use to put my cold drinks in. This mug came from a Polish Ration reviewer. Oops. Tilted it a little bit too much. Now I'll just finish the coffee. Delicious. He does videos in English on his Delicious channel. And then he has a Polish language only channel. I'm subscribed to it, but I can't remember the name of it. I haven't seen anything come up on it for a while, so I don't even know if I'm still subscribed. I don't know a whole lot of Polish, but being that I am Polish, I do enjoy watching that. Now this has the calorie counts for the entree and the applesauce. 260 for the chicken stir fry. 120 for the applesauce with strawberry and carrot. And the other nutritional information. It's really small. They packed it all onto this one card instead of putting a separate card or taking up the other side of this. These MREs usually average between 1,100 and 1,300 calories. It varies by menu. And then if a soldier needs even more calories, there are additional supplement packs called a more modular operational ration enhancement. They contain snacks and another drink that the soldier can add to the MREs or the first strike ration, which is a 24-hour ration for combat operations. They contain foods that need no preparation. The only thing you would have to do is mix up a drink. And that is it for those. And I do have one of those. I will get into that one later in the year. but that is a 24-hour ration. But these modular operational enhancement packs, there are two versions, hot weather and cold weather. So they can be supplemented to go along with their regular rations that they have for the day. And I have a couple of those packs. I am Polish. So that is about as close as Turkish as you're gonna get. I do know some Turks who attend my mosque, and I do hear them speaking Turkish occasionally. Yeah, I'm soaking up some of that spilled coffee with my cinnamon bun. I have never been across the Atlantic. I've never been across the Pacific. I've only been to Mexico, and that was way back in 1986. And I got to spend a month there and earn 6 credits toward my Bachelor of Arts in Spanish. But I would love to go to Poland. And I would love to go to Mecca in Saudi Arabia to perform Hajj or Umrah, or both, but that is way out of my budget. It would probably take an entire disability payment to go to Poland, and it would take at least 2 of those to go to Saudi Arabia. And that's just for the bare minimum. No amenities really. And even that might not be enough. The way prices have increased, it may take 3 of my Social Security payments to do that. So unless someone pays for it, I'm not going. So about the only traveling I do really is within Iowa these days. It's been several years since I was last in Nebraska. Got a Polish cousin there, but we connect on Facebook. So that's pretty much how we communicate with each other. Yeah, my late dad's sister is in Arizona, and I've never been there. So I connect with her on Facebook. She used to live here in Iowa until she decided to sell the farm after my uncle, her husband, died. And her kids had grown up and moved out and both started their families. She had retired from her job at the local hospital and just decided to sell the farm to someone who would actually run it like a farm. And she went to Arizona. But I have been to other states just when I was a lot younger. For competitions when I was in school. I went to Ohio for one, went to Minnesota for one. And for some other events, I went to Indiana. And I've been in Chicago. I was there for a few days in 2012. I have an aunt. I had an aunt who lived in Alabama, so I was there once when I was younger. And we went through Kentucky and Tennessee to get there. I've been in Missouri. I've been in Oklahoma. We used to camp in Nebraska decades ago when I was a kid. Being south of Nebraska, when we were living in Nebraska, we would go down to a place in Kansas to camp. I have never taken a train other than the L in Chicago. That's the only kind of train I've ever ridden to go from one place to another. Never had the opportunity to participate in any kind of event where there was a covered wagon to ride in. But I know some people who have a huge cast iron cookware collection, and they cook for Civil War reenactments. They cook for like Renaissance fairs or something of that nature. And they would take like 20 different cast iron pieces to cook in. So they would have to have one huge fire or a couple of different fires going if they're cooking in several pots or pans at once. But speaking of history, there is a channel called History 1941. He specializes in U.S. military history. He participates in World War II reenactments, but he will also go do video shoots at Civil War sites and other military historical sites. He's been aboard some decommissioned ships and done tours of those. And when he participates in the reenactments himself, he will acquire reproductions of rations that would have been used at the time. And there are people who do reproductions of the packaging for World War II and Civil War era rations, and they will acquire the food items that closely resemble those items that would have been used back then. Of course, making hardtack is very simple. There are lots of videos on YouTube on how to do it. And no taxing on this tray. I've had this for several years, so this is way before any tariffs. Now, all of my foreign rations that I currently have, which are not very many at the moment, were already here in the US when I acquired them. I have gotten a few in the past from other countries before the government started ripping into our foreign packages and raiding the contents. So acquiring foreign rations has been a lot harder. If I can find one that's already in the US, or someone, I will buy it. Or like that Latvian ration that I recently got in the 2 Canadians. Those were just sent to me. I did not purchase those. There are others in the ration review community who will just send things to other reviewers. I've done 2 trades. Well, that is one sure way to not get that. First time viewer? No, not going to happen. I saw a post that another YouTuber had made. He made a viewer a mod. It was actually accidental. He wanted to make another viewer a mod, but the wrong person. And then this other person abused that privilege and was messing with the YouTuber's comments on the videos and just causing problems, so that person had to be removed and blocked from this channel. So just asking to be modified on your first time visit to a channel, that is one sure way of getting denied. The mods are there for a reason. They have to be trustworthy. They have to be known. And I'm going to leave it at that. Not much left on them. I'm still stirring that. In fact, I'm probably going to dump a little bit more from my water bottle into my drinking jar. This bottle holds a standard 16.9 ounce or 500 milliliter water bottle. It's a double wall bottle, and that's the one I take out with me when I go places. I don't want to have a water bottle on me. Yeah, that'll make that jar easier to wash later. Yep, I keep that bottle in the fridge all the time. And that's what I use to mix up my drink powders with. Well, I think that is going to do it for this one. Again, I do this every Sunday at 7 p.m. U.S. Central Time, except on those Sundays when I'm going to be gone. For instance, during Ramadan, I am at the mosque every night. And there may be other times where I may not be home, like when I go to the lake for my annual family trip. We go to Lake Icaria, which is an area that my late dad grew up in. He knew that area very well. So if I'm there on a Sunday, obviously I'm not going to be streaming a Ration because I won't take any with me, and internet out there is iffy at best, even with my hotspot. Or I may be at another event and I will not get home in time to get the stream going, to set up for it. So when I know in advance if I'm not going to be able to do a stream on Sunday, then I toss a post up. Or for instance, if I have no power and I may not have internet I may not have enough signal to get off a stream, I may get enough to toss a post up. That's usually what I'll do. But again, I do want to thank you all for sticking with me through this broken stream. After I close this out, I will try to fix what I can fix. And I will put explanations in the video descriptions as to why this one was broken. I hate it when that happens, but it is what it is. But next week, I will come up with something else out of the old ration box. It could be a Canadian. It could be the Latvian. It could be one of my halal MREs. It could be my first strike ration, or it could be a custom ration that I have that someone had put together. Or who knows what I'll do, but I will decide something for next Sunday. But again, I want to thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. I do recommend trying this one out. If you're into Asian style food, it's good. It's got a good start. There are a couple of things they could do better to make it better, but I was very happy with it. I'm glad I got it. So again, thanks for watching, and catch you on the flip side.